there, Legacy community. Welcome back to another interview. I'm extremely excited today. I'm here with one of my good friends and local business owners here in downtown Raleigh, Brian Burnett. So we're sitting here at the Glenwood South Tailors and Men's Shop. As well, he has the Burnett Development, which I'm really excited to talk to you about, and urbanomics.org.
Yeah, that's right.
So we've got a lot of exciting stuff
You
to
nailed
talk
him.
about today.
Yeah.
So right out of the gate, can you tell me what the first business was you got started with, whether it was one of these or something even sooner, and what drew you to that?
So the first business that I started was actually is insurance. Like once I got out of high school, because I knew that I wasn't, kind of similar to yourself, I knew I really wasn't concerned about being like a scholar. You know, growing up in the area, lower income, I wanted to focus on, making money, to be honest with you, right? I was telling the guy on a podcast I did yesterday, when you grow up around a lack, when you grow up around it, it's very, very jarring. And so anything that's the opposite of that, there's an instant awareness, right? And so we started with insurance, when I was, I think I was like 19.
Wow.
Yeah, started selling insurance, door to door, following up on leads. And, just kind of one thing led to another. But then that's kind of how I picked up sales acumen, business development, how to speak to people, greet people, build rapport, all those good things.
Very interesting. Do you think that door-to-door sales had a direct effect on the kind of career that you've had and building your personal skills?
Absolutely. It's so funny because in addition to insurance, right before that, I was doing like a little, network marketing, direct marketing, MLM. And that actually prepared me for insurance because, this was way before CRM systems and things of that nature, right? This was literally walking up to a stranger and saying, "Hey, Kobe, my name's Brian. I'm looking to expand my business in this part of the region. I want to know if you know any business-minded individuals that be looking to expand with me." Boom, done. Get an exchange, get someone's number, build a contact, sell the meeting. So that was the first thing, right? Learning how to sell the meeting.
Yep.
That's the first thing. So absolutely had a direct impact.
Yep. So walk us through what the visualization was for this tailor shop and what brought you into the suit industry.
Got it. So what got me into this industry? So I worked at Nordstrom, and I noticed a lot of gentlemen would come in, executives from all different walks of life. They would come in and they would acquire these high-end suits, but at the end of the day, they valued a subject matter expert. They valued someone who was personable, and they valued someone who actually understood their industry. Okay. And so I thought, man, this would be really, really cool. Now, this is once I graduated from Chapel Hill, went to Europe, and all those experiences from Nordstrom stuck with me. And I thought how cool it would be to have gentlemen or ladies to have this experience, but not have to spend $3,000 or $4,000 on a suit. Like, what if it could just be a personal experience and a luxury experience for just tailoring and alterations, right? And so it was the experience. And I didn't know that's what it was at the time, but I wanted to have an experience when people, had tailoring done, because initially, like, getting things tailored was just a chore, but I wanted to make it an experience. And so when I went to Europe and I went to Savile Row and traveled down Piccadilly Circus and Regent Street and in Oxford, and I saw these really cool tailor shops, and the people that worked in the shops knew the clients, versus here in the States, it's just transactional.
Right.
What can we do for you? I'm here to do this. Great. What else? In the UK, it's like, hey, John, like, hey, how's the new job going? Are we doing some trousers for you today? Or are we doing a sport coat? And, how's work? And, I noticed some things in the article regarding your industry. And there was just like all this connective tissue around the client just for tailoring.
Right.
And I was like, let's bring this back here. And so fast forward 2015, we started very small in like an 800 square foot office, which is upstairs. However, I knew we wanted to be much bigger, and the pandemic gave us our opportunity to really stretch our legs, and so we expanded into this as my full vision of a tailoring house during 2020.
Very interesting. I love to hear how you were able to take COVID and what most people see as just a very hard, terrible time for them, and you were able to look for opportunity.
Absolutely.
And actually grow. So that's interesting to know. I did not know you used to be upstairs and then moved down here. Mm-hmm. So walk us through what that day was like when you knew you wanted to move down here and you wanted to expand. What was that first day like when you actually moved down here for you?
I mean, it was super exciting because we had to move down here. It was kind of an accelerated time frame because the former building owner wanted to turn the other space. And my mentor, Chris Knott, you probably heard of Peter Millar. So he founded Peter Millar, sold it, and so he met with me during 2020, during Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And he was just like, hey, if you want to scale your business and to make it a real business, not like this. And I was like, God, not like this. He was like, you want to make it like a real business, you need to expand and tell the landlord, if he doesn't let you get into the space, which was a yoga studio, he said, if he don't let you get into the space, tell him you're going to walk. I didn't tell him I was going to walk, but I did have a conversation with the landlord. I just said, hey, listen, this is where we're at. I think this is an opportunity for us to really expand. The space downstairs has been dark for about 6 or 7 months. I said, we've got the clientele that's 5 years tested. And I said, you don't want to open it up to any type of like other personalized service that can't do a virtual experience or like a socially distanced experience.
Makes sense. I love it.
And so we're able to make that happen. And that first day was, wow. It was like, oh, this is like a real store. And I saw the space, and this was one of our Burnett developments, like first like upfits, because we redesigned the space. Because what we're sitting in right now was an office, this fishbowl behind us, which is now a production room, that was all blocked off.
Okay. And
everything that's behind me, bathrooms, and everything was really, really closed in. So we gutted it basically and rebuilt it back out, put some of the fanciness in it that you see it, and this was really like my version of Salvo Row.
And one thing that he keeps talking about here that I love hearing this word is the experience. So any of you who have been following me for a while know that in college I had a startup called AI Tailor, where we attempted to build a platform where every local tailor shop like you could be on one place and people would be able to come on there and have a virtual tailor experience.
Mm-hmm.
And the hardest thing was, and what the key for us was how you said internationally, there's a different type of experience offered at those tailor shops.
Yep.
And we were trying to bring that together, and hearing how much of a core value you've made that here and important, I love to hear it, because that is what I knew the first time I stepped through the doors of this tailor shop. That's what separates you from the rest of your competition and why people love to keep coming back here. Can you tell us about where you're initially from?
So I'm from Southeast Raleigh, Walnut Terrace, Halifax Court, and grew up in Southeast Raleigh. My grandmother raised me, and she's actually the one who actually got me exposed to sewing. I used to take some of my toys, and I would try to like create clothes for them, and I would like cut up my t-shirts and like make clothing for them, and I got exposed to sharp objects at an early age. So needles, threads, razors, all that good stuff. But I feel like it was a good precursor for things to come.
Can you remember the very first piece that you ever sewed with her?
It was literally, so G.I. Joes were big for me, and so I had tons of G.I. Joes.
I was a G.I. Joe
and
guy.
and so my dad would get all of these, like I had all the like action figures, and I think it was like the Arctic collection, because there was like this battle scene in G.I. Joe where they were like in like Alaska, and like all the vehicles were white, the helicopters were white, and so I was like, okay, my toys, my guys, they need to have like the white coats. So I just like went upstairs and got some of my t-shirts, my Hanes t-shirts, and cut them up and like literally created a pattern. I didn't even know I was creating a pattern, because I knew, like looking at a piece of clothing, I was like, there's a front panel and a back panel. So I literally traced it out like a T, and I created 2 panels, and I sewed the seams together. And that was like the first like little thing that I sewed, and and I also helped my grandmother like thread needles, because she couldn't see that well over a period of time, and I've always had really good eyesight, so I was able to thread the needles for her using a thimble, and started sewing clothes for my G.I. Joes.
Look at that, from sewing jackets for G.I. Joes to sewing jackets for some of the biggest names in Raleigh and North Carolina.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah,
I'd
man.
love to see the journey.
Yeah.
All right, so the next thing I'd like to ask you, what drove you into entrepreneurship?
I would say what drove me into entrepreneurship was I'd always seen entrepreneurship as a way to control your destiny, right? I have a lot of sayings that I really, really love, but like I think my number 3 top saying would be, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And what I liked about entrepreneurship is that the entrepreneurs tended to have control over what they experienced, where they went, how they went, who they talked to, when they talked to them. And that came from actually working at Nordstrom, because I met a lot of entrepreneurs at Nordstrom. And that's why one of the things I think is really big for kids like coming up through grade school is if you work in the service industry and you meet so many different people from various walks of life. And, I just became attracted to meeting entrepreneurs and then studying entrepreneurs, and then always asking what someone's story was, because I was like, always like, hey, how did you go from A to D? Like, how does that even happen? And started a couple, little micro companies while I was, pre-Chapel Hill, while I was at Chapel Hill, and I started designing some pocket squares. And I knew I had a knack for understanding business, but I decided to just ask the universe, hey, I know I have a dream, but I know I have to eat today.
Exactly.
So I said, let me just work and then let it come to me. And then it came to me, and like all those different failures allowed me to learn. And a lot of those failures became actually lessons that we implement in the men's store and other ventures today.
Okay, I love it. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. I've never heard it, and that hit hard. I felt that one.
Oh, brother, if you're not at the table, you're definitely on the menu.
So now, one of the most important questions I think I can ever ask anybody: what is your why? What drives you to get out of the bed in the morning and come here?
My why is to empower creatives. So as a creative, I've seen various creatives like not be valued, not to be treated well, to be taken for granted, and so on and so forth. And if you like look at the history of tailoring and all the different houses, whether it's Jeeves and Hawks, whether it's Ascot Chang, whether it's Huntsman, or Michael Anderson or Oswald Boateng, like all these different like tailors, there's a history, there's a heritage of tailoring from where the aristocracy actually all had tailored clothing. However, the tailors got paid last. And I thought it was very interesting because, when you wear tailored clothing, there's a certain level of power that you feel. Your self-image is improved. Your performance has the potential to be improved, and that's one of the things that really makes me get up in the morning, is that we empower creatives. From our tailorists in the back to our fitters at the front, is that we're making people understand that this is now a living art. Right? And creatives have the ability to shape how someone performs. Some of the biggest names in business, we've got Greg Lowe, the CEO of Wolfspeed out in RTP. And our team gets to chart out and design wardrobes and garments for the biggest names in business. And there's a value attached to that, because I think you would agree that personalized service is really hard to quantify.
Definitely.
Because it's not readily available these days. And that's what we do different. Because we're not, 1,000 people, we can give that person time, attention, and that client appreciates it. And so it also allows us to compensate creatives well, because sometimes people in the service industry aren't valued, they aren't created, they aren't treated well, they're not rewarded. And so being able to do this at the luxury level, we're able to show very specifically and very explicitly that creatives, cutters, fitters, tailors are very, very important to the economy. And as we're seeing like right now, there's a premium on personalized service and attention. And so we're here just to continue that with that heritage.
Definitely. I think we're all seeing in the economy, it's becoming ever so more a specialized industry. The more specialized and the more niche oriented you are, the more you will succeed today. So I think that you have definitely tapped into your niche here, and I love to see it. Could you tell us a little bit about your goals for your different companies over the next year?
So for Glenwood South Tailors and Men's Shop, our goal is to reach out and to be able to serve. And I know it's a big goal, but it's like, hey, why have a goal if it doesn't scare you? Serve 10,000 men and women across the executive and the professional realms, right? Because what we want to do is we want to continuously, with that vision, with that passion of making creatives feel valued, we want to be able to service about 10,000 people. And then what we want to do is we want to help them design their wardrobes, right? Because that way we are continuously becoming a more vertically integrated company. Because now our goal is to like really scale out and build out our wardrobing, because we're doing really, really well with our bespoke traffic. We're doing really, really well with our styling. We're doing great with our tailoring and alterations. For us, we really want to ramp up our wardrobing clients. So we have an executive package. It's called the Everything Package. And it's an annual subscription. It is for executives and C-suite members. But that's our goal, to really ramp it up and to bring about 50 new Everything clients for the year. For Burnett Development, we're continuing with that vertical integration, and we're developing something called Seabrook Flats. We're not sure just yet if it'll be fully 6 units, but it'll definitely be 4 to 5 micro units. And the priority will be actually to provide below market rate rental housing for tailors and seamstresses that work on our team.
Wow.
Right. And so we just had thank you. So we just had the concrete poured for that. We actually moved that house about 3 miles. So that's a whole nother conversation. So we picked up 2 historic homes and we actually moved them about 3 miles. So we did it on Mother's Day of this year. So it was pretty cool weekend.
Now that might be one of the most creative things I've ever heard. You got historic homes, which typically you are barely allowed to do anything to, and you up and move these
Yep.
properties 30
Yeah.
miles. So wow, that
Yeah.
is interesting.
So that would be the goal, to kind of, get that close to occupancy by the end of the year, right? For Burnett Development, and then develop our bridal venue down east. And then for urbanomics.org, which is our small business consultancy and strategy, that we want to bring on about 10 new clients, because we want to show and we want to coach service-based small business owners on how to leverage, scale, and protect their company. Because at the end of the day, small business is great, but you don't want to just stay small. You actually want to continue to the next level, so that way your business is more resilient. Because yes, we have great clients, we have great community partners, we have great community stakeholders, all the way up to the governor is a client, the mayor is a client, executives are clients. But at the end of the day, it's on me, right?
Right.
It's on you. So to make sure that your team is taken care of, to make sure that the community is taken care of, from a business continuity perspective, we have to have different asset columns to ensure our resiliency. Yes, real estate is my passion, but it's also for a reason. So that now we have the ability to not only provide clients with great service, we can provide our team members with housing. And then we can provide some of our clients that we haven't even met yet with a great bridal venue down east. And so that vertical integration, creating an entire end-to-end solution, that's what's really coming for us in the next 3 years.
I love it. That's exciting. And one big thing he hit on there that I absolutely love, you are the only person who is going to make it happen, and you're the only person that can mess it up. So I love these.
Absolutely, absolutely, for
So
sure.
now that you've given us a little insight over the next year, can you let us in behind the scenes in your vision for the next 5 to 10 years and how you want to grow your brand as a whole?
So what I typically do is I will think in about 5-year increments, and so we just kind of like charted out the first, for the first 3 like companies, right? But then over the 5-year, we want to bring in more individuals to actually run those entities.
Okay.
Right? Because my goal is to actually make myself increasingly unnecessary. Because I don't have any ego, right? For me, ego stands for edging God out. I don't need to be involved in everything, right? I want to have other great professionals, like Steve Jobs said. My job is to bring in the people smarter than myself and then get out of their way. That's my goal. So we just brought on a new general manager, Caitlin. She's much more PC than I am. She's much more organized than I am. She's a great leader. And that's what this company needs. And so now over the next 5 years, then we'll bring more leadership into Burnett Development. So that way we'll have a project manager who I just met over the past weekend in Pinehurst. And then, for urbanomics.org, we'll have to bring in an executive director of that, because that's a nonprofit, right? Okay. Where we want to do small business coaching, but there are also different facets to that. As we talked about with Urbanomics, we can also do some other offshoot things that are about community building, like helping young kids get into real estate. So some of the assets that we have, we can actually offer kids in middle school or high school a piece of equity. And then they can actually I'm a part owner. By the time you get to high school, they can be in their own syndication. I think that's sexy.
How cool is that?
Right? That you talk about my why? Oh, that's crazy. Because it takes the heart of generosity to say, hey, we've got something, but we're going to give you a piece of it as long as you demonstrate the determination and the desire.
Wow. That is very awesome. I have yet to hear anyone do anything like that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to keep everybody on the loop on what you're doing.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's like you can't eat it all. You can't eat it all. Like if I own 1,000 units, okay, great. But how much better could I do if out of those 1,000 units, I gave 20 kids a piece of the action? Mm-hmm. Like, what did we just talk about? Hey, listen, ECU wants you. You're like, hey, listen, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take care of my family. But at the end of the day, I want to make an impact in my community. Hey, looking for our next Kobe.
Yeah. And I love that because a big piece of that is how you're going to inspire and touch people is going to potentially grow your brand in ways that you never could because of all the different creative people that you're going to bring on and that you're going to empower to make moves for you and for themselves. And so I'm excited. Knowing what you know now, if you could go back to your 20-year-old self and give yourself advice about going into entrepreneurship and life as a whole, what would be some of the biggest nuggets you would want to leave with yourself?
Number one, you got to get around people that have your solution, not your problem. Coming from my community, I'm just being very transparent, right? Sometimes we have the tendency to wallow in trauma. And trauma happens, and I'm talking about on the business level, right? I'm talking about on the business level, entrepreneurship level. Things that we couldn't have access to, things we don't know about, information we don't have, connections we don't have access to. So what I would tell my, my 20-year-old self is that, you got to get around people that have your solution, not your problem, earlier. Do it then. Because I didn't really catch that play until I was like 25, 26, right? So as we know in business, 5 years means a lot. Yep. Fortunes can be made and crushed in 5 years. So I would have told myself to do that first. Secondly, practice success early. Because people say, oh, oh man, like you're always like nonstop. You're doing this and you're doing that. I'm practicing success, man. So like now on the weekends, like I'll get up and I'll just go to a car dealership, random. Just go to a car dealership and just like go look at the car, because I'm a car guy. Okay. Right? And so I love cars, and I'll go look at those things. And then I love houses, because obviously I love real estate, and I'll just go drive around and look at things that I don't have yet, right? But like that's practicing success, because it's reinforcing what you want or what you are attracted to.
You've got to put it out there in the world. If there's things you want that you don't have, put yourself around those things, visualize, see them, feel them, touch them, smell them, and you will slowly watch it come into existence in your life. And I think we both would say we've seen that firsthand ourselves.
Absolutely. I remember when I was like 20, 23, 24, and I was like going to the Tailor shop at the mall all the time. And I got tired of driving from here, this area to the mall. I was like, man, I just need to have my own Tailor. And wow, boom. Right? You know what I mean? Because it's just like, okay, maybe that's a thing. Yep. So.
And another big thing you just touched on there for our younger audience, I feel like one of the biggest things I always heard my friends say when I was a little bit younger was that, you've got to enjoy your youth. You need to stop working so much. And for some people, I'm not going to hate on you. If that's what you need to do while you're young, do it. But you have to be careful that you're not sacrificing your future for short-term rewards and feelings that are not going to fulfill you and last long. And the younger you can get focused and get that tunnel vision, the more fulfilled and the more purpose you're going to start finding in life earlier. And I think you would agree with me, once you start tapping into your purpose here on earth, everything else is mediocre.
Absolutely. My Brianism for that is, you buy someone's opinion, you buy their lifestyle, right? And because, I have people that I know, and they'll say, hey, like, why don't you do this? Or I'll tell them like, hey, like I had a great buddy, Nate, runs a law firm. Him and his wife, they run a, high-end law firm here in town. And I had a conversation with him last year about the house move. And I was like, I want to do this. I said, but we got a really strong opportunity down east, man. And I was like, ugh. I said, we're talking about some serious capital. And I'm like, should I do this? Can I do this? Do I have the bandwidth to do this? Which one should I do? And he was like, can you do both? And I remember I've had two people, he's one of the two. I've had two people, Bob Butler's other guy, sold his company for, about 12 million back in like 2002. It's one of my clients in Nordstrom. And he was like, hey, why don't you do both? Because this was actually, I was in school, getting ready to transfer to Chapel Hill. And I was presented with an opportunity to participate in a real estate development curriculum sponsored by the Institute in Durham. These were happening simultaneously. And I was like, I've got to work full time, real estate program. Like, can I do this? Which one should I do, Bob? He's like, well, why don't you do both? Why don't you, he's like, just buckle your ass down and do both. All right. Did both. Has never steered me wrong. I'm not gonna say it's easy, but I mean, we made it. We moved the house, running the store, took down the portfolio.
Don't ask for easier times. Ask to be a stronger man. I think that's the best way that I can put that.
That's strong. Absolutely.
I love it. So another big question I want to ask you, what is one thing you want to see improved upon here in North Carolina?
I would like to see an increased emphasis placed on expanding service-based small business space. For example, so I was at a great talk last week. It was called Tomorrow's Real Estate, sponsored by the Triangle Business Journal. And so you had the heavy hitters from the real estate market, like you had Delwig, people in your space. We had Delwig up there. Kane Development was up there. My buddy, director of planning for the city, Patrick, was up there. One of my future mentors, Mitchell Silver, was up there. And they were talking about, all the Class B space and a Class B plus space that will be perhaps actually dwarfed by all the new Class A space coming into our market, just because of the buildable space, and then just how our region is attracting so much talent. And one of the questions that I didn't get a chance to ask, just because it was kind of an intimate setting, was what is going to be the emphasis for your service-based small businesses in these business corridors? Yeah. For example, we're in Glenwood South, right? And so the building that we're sitting in right now will actually be a part of a redevelopment effort in about 2 years. And so everything that we're sitting in right now won't be here. And so we have our pivot strategy, but at the end of the day, I wanted to know what emphasis is going to be placed on the small businesses that are occupying these businesses now, because if as a developer, what I'm doing is I'm looking at the space that I'm going to build. I'm looking at to make sure I get a good lease up. So if I'm going to do apartments up top, that's fine. To make sure I get a good lease up. But I also need to get me some nice commercial tenants, maybe an anchor tenant or two. And the situation is you have to continuously keep the amenities of a business district, because that's why people move to business districts, because the walkability. Right? Because, when we relocate or when we move temporarily, you have the ability to lose 4 businesses: tailoring, suiting, personal styling, bridal tailoring, right? And we already have a pivot strategy. However, the situation that I'm trying to bring to the forefront is that what is the emphasis of small businesses remaining in these new revitalized business districts?
And if we're not careful, these small businesses that have been here for years will get priced out and will not make their pivot moves because they're not aware of transitions going on. And by the time they find out, everyone else has already pivoted. And I totally get where your view's at there. And we definitely have to make sure that we're doing our part in the community to help our local businesses as these transitions and these developments happen, and keep the foundation for what keeps North Carolina running in place. So that's huge.
Absolutely, because you want people in these districts, right? You want people in these downtowns. People are they're here for dry cleaners, they're here for restaurants, they're here for bars, they're here for acupuncture, they're here for digital services, they're here for media services, they're here for styling services, all these things. Small business. Like, you got to make sure that small businesses have a place in these large commercial developments.
And as we grow, how can we continue to have that small town feel?
There you go.
And know each business and know the owners and know their kids and their dog as we continue to grow vertical and horizontal.
Absolutely.
And I think that you have a great view on that, and that you're doing your part to help with that.
Thank you.
So I love it. This is the moneymaker.
Oh, it's a moneymaker. Ready? Let's go.
When your time on this earth is over, what do you want your legacy to be remembered as?
I want people to say, man, it was his goal to die empty.
Give it to him one more time. Give it to him one more time.
I want my goal when as my grandmother would say, when my head is cold, I want people to say, man, that was his goal, was to die empty. And when you die empty, that means you gave as much away that you could. And it's not all about resources, right? It's about like knowledge, because that's what I'm doing, day in and day out, trying to impart wisdom, whether it's business development, whether it's about tailoring, whether it's about styling, whether it's about real estate, whether it's about syndication. It's like give it away. Because I see so many people like hoard it. And at the end of the day, it's like one of those self-fulfilling prophecies. Like, you hoard it so much is that nothing else can get in. Because you have such a clenched fist and nothing else can get in. I don't worry about, like, Gary Vaynerchuk says the other day, he's like, I spend 0 time on my competition. He's like, because I feel like I deal in an abundance mindset. There's plenty of people out here. We refer clients out. We refer clients away if we can't meet someone's time frame. So I want people to be like, man, like, it was his goal to die empty. Like, he just gave it away, gave the game away.
I love it.
That's it.
Focus on yourself until the focus is on you.
I like that. That's strong.
Another thing you said there, as somebody similar to you who I want to be successful and have things that I didn't have coming up, I want to have money to be able to travel and live the lifestyle I have. I want to own the real estate to actually have a piece of my city. But what are they going to bury me with all that?
Right.
I mean, what is the point of getting all these things if you're not going to give back and help other people? And I love to see business owners like yourself who have that visualization and know that there's no fulfillment from just collecting as much as you can and hoarding it, because like you said, nothing else is going to get in.
No, nothing else is going to get in. And I think one of the things that small, medium-sized business owners don't make the time to remember is that you need to figure out what you need to feel rewarded in your deal. Like, what do you need? Like, I mean, it could be trivial. It could be a car. Do you need a house? Do you need a cool watch? Like, figure out that thing twice a year. Get that thing out of your system. Because as a small business owner, you can get beat up a lot, and it's really and it's no respect of industries. It's professionals. It's people that work in corporate, or it's people that run law firms. You got to figure out like what it is that you want to make you feel rewarded, money, and then get that out of your system once or twice a year, and then make everything else about the success of the company and your team members.
I love it. And one thing he just hit on there that I want to mention here. The best advice I think I've ever received in my life when it comes to financials and investments, anything you have established you want, that nice new watch, that big house, that car, buy an asset that pays for that liability. Mm-hmm. And if you do that, you will always be financially free, and you'll always have that back end covered. So that would be my biggest nugget that I can give from today. Mm-hmm. that has helped me along, and keep that in mind.
Don't buy the toys with the earned income. You buy the toys with the passive income. That's how you get the
dropping free knowledge on you over here.
That's it. That's how you get the toys, baby.
All right. So I wake up tomorrow, I look in the mirror, and I realize I need to step my suit game up and get a custom piece. Mm-hmm. How do I go about working with you to get a custom suit made?
What you want to do is you want to go to www.glenwoodsouthtailored.com.
Links in the description.
Pull us up, book an appointment. Hey, I need a bespoke consultation. Book us, come in, we'll take care of you. Julie and I will, have a conversation about, hey, making sure that you're the right fit for the bespoke experience, and making sure that we've got something for you that's going to really knock your socks off. But we really want to focus on for that experience is ROI, and it's return on image, right? We want to make sure that when you come have a garment cut from Glenwood South Tailors and Men's Shop, that it's a good business decision, right? So you attribute us with, okay, it was fun, but it was great. It was versatile, right? So, GlenwoodSouthTailor.com. We're on, obviously on Instagram, Glenwood South Tailor. We've got a couple videos on YouTube. Hey, we're even on TikTok. So, you can find us.
I love it. And Brian has so much different awesome stuff going on. If you want to stay connected with him, BrianBurnett.com.
That's right.
Easiest way to stay intact with everything. Mm-hmm. And your Instagram is
my personal Instagram is the Brian Burnett. You can just type in Brian Burnett, pull it up. So I have I offer a lot of tips and tricks for small business owners, creatives on how I said earlier, to scale, leverage, and protect their business, and of course themselves, and of course Instagram. And you'll find a lot of stuff on my personal Instagram with business strategy, real estate stuff, mindset stuff, all those good things.
If you're into growing yourself or growing your business, go check him out and give him a follow. He drops, I would say, daily, what I like to call your organic content, where he doesn't try to sit there and beat around the bush. He gets to the point and gives you the good nuggets.
Absolutely.
So definitely check him out. Stay tuned for our next video. Check me out at colbymitchell.info and on Instagram at Colby Mitchell Realty. Until next time, thank you.
Y'all take care.
Boom.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it, brother. That was good, man.